Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Rink Diaries, local Iceman here. Alright, for this episode I'm going to talk about advanced Zamboni driving, or advanced ice resurfacer driving. Other than the basic ice cuts that are done in between rentals, between hockey games and figure skating, there's additional ice maintenance that's performed to make sure the ice is level as well as safe to skate on. Other than edging, cross cuts, figure eights, and other ice maintenance routines are all important factors in maintaining a quality sheet of ice. So this video I'm going to talk about the cross cut. I'm going to talk about the how and the why. Hold on your shorts, stay tuned, it's going to be exciting. Alright everyone, grab a pencil because before we hop on the ice to show you the how, I'm going to use the whiteboard here to show you the why. Okay, so why do we do cross cuts? First I should explain to you what I'm talking about a cross cut. Basically a cross cut is you're dividing the rink in half, and you're basically doing a mini ice cut going the width of the rink going this way. So essentially what I do is I start my pattern coming across this way, then I go up the middle this way, then I start floating towards the corner as I'm floating back towards the center of the middle of the ice. Basically we do cross cuts because the normal pattern that the Zamboni does takes you across the center of the ice or the length of the ice this way, just repeatedly. And over time, and I think that's the key, it's over time, these long grooves start forming in the ice. As you keep on driving this way or this way, you know, as you do your patterns, you're kind of going back and forth. So again, over time, you start developing these long grooves in the ice. So now you can see where the name comes from because you're cutting across the normal pattern that you do. So imagine this racer is your conditioner and you're coming through and you do a cross cut. It's just coming through and kind of wiping that clean. And you come through this way and it kind of helps level the ice. And as you make your pattern back this way, you come down this way. And you start working your way from one side of the rink to another. So again, you have all these grooves in the ice, and essentially that's what the cross cut does. It kind of helps level the ice out. So basically what you're doing is you're dragging the Zamboni's conditioner kind of against the grain of what the normal ice cut is. So back and forth. And one thing I haven't mentioned, that this is a dry cut. Your towel should be in the air because as you're driving around the rink, you don't want to wear your towel out. So just put your towel in the air. Another thing I should mention too, during this process, you're going to be taking up a lot of snow. So you have to do this when your ice is thick and healthy enough. If your ice is not beefy and you have some thin spots in your rink, this process is going to lose a little bit of your ice. One of the first things I do when I cross cut is I edge. So I edge the rink, then I do 2 times, 1 time around the outside of the rink. If my rink is really bullish, I'll do 3 times, 2 times, 1 time. But normally 2 times, 1 time will work. Get your chip in there. Then you come through and you do your cross cut. Basically, I do 1/2 the ice. I go dump my snow because at that point, after you do your 2 times, 1 time, and you do your half the rink, you're gonna have a full tank of snow. Basically, you're gonna get a 1/2 tank of snow for each half of ice. Sometimes a little bit more than a half. So that's why you want to dump your snow after your first half. Come back out and do your second half. And I always do my further half first and the closer half to the Zamboni door second, but that's not really important. So let me just draw myself kind of, I know it's a red line, but this is the blue line. Because basically what I do is when I start my cut, I come at least 2 widths, and this is not the scale, I come about 2 to 3, about say 2.5 Zamboni conditioners in from the blue line, and I start my pass across the ice. Then I come towards the center of the ice, and you raise your blade up, then back down. Then you come along the center of the ice and go across the ice again. And you make your turn, and you're going to raise your blade up and down over these points, because if you keep going over it, shaving it down, it's going to shave your ice down. So up 2 turns, down 2 turns, then back across the center of the ice. Then you come this way, and as you're working your way this way, you're working your way towards the corner. And you keep on going back and forth until you completed or shaved all your ice. So, and as you get here, I know you do your Zam cuts this way, but I keep going until, well, obviously until I get the whole center of the ice right here, but I keep going until I at least overlap my conditioner across the goal line. And if you get one side done before the other, that's fine, because you can come across here and do part of the other part, then come over here and finish the spot that you did miss. Because sometimes you kind of miss time, especially if you haven't done this. If you miss time, if you come over here too far, and you end up getting this part done first before this part, you can always swing over to the center of the ice. And that's one thing I make sure you do. You get these little areas right here, because these little areas right here, because as you divide the ice in half, you do one half and you do the other half, there's like this little tails right here that you miss. So that's where it's good to kind of come through and kind of float over the center of the ice to get that. Then as you come through and do your second half, you gotta make sure you fan over and blend into your other half of the ice so you don't leave any uncut ice that's not cut. I'm sorry if that didn't come out right. I just want to stress again that as you're coming across the middle and you're making your turn across the ice right here, that you're raising your blade up at least 2 turns, maybe 3 if you're going over a problem area. As you come back across the middle of the ice, you're going to have it back down. It's a really fast motion as you're making your turn back into the ice. Then as you come across here, you're going to raise your blade up. Even though this little overlap area is going to kind of float with you as you're moving with the Zamboni and going across the ice, there is an area where you're going to keep on overlapping. You just want to make sure you're not overcutting these areas on side to side. Especially in our case, because we have a problem area here on the player benches and one right here. So I make sure my ice is really healthy and really thick so I come through and not worry about these problem areas and keep my blade down. If I have to raise my blade up over this area right here and say the center of the ice, which gets kind of thin too, that kind of defeats the purpose of doing a cross cut. So the cross cut should be done when your ice is healthy and beefy enough to be able to take a hit on the thickness. You also want to make sure you allow enough time to get all this done, because from start to finish, it could be at least 1.5 hours. And I'm talking about edging, chipping, doing your 2 times, 1 time, coming and cross cutting one half the ice, then coming and cross cutting the other half the ice. Then you actually have to come out again with the machine and do a regular cut and flood. And one thing to note is when you're actually doing your first ice cut after this, as you're coming across this way, you're going to feel your Zamboni conditioner is going to kind of hop over these little ridges a little bit. So it's not until you do the cut after your cross cut that you get the ice all nice and level. And I won't do this right before a big game or a big figure skating competition. This is something to do early in the morning. Of course, someone's going to have to skate on that ice eventually, but you'll notice on your machine as you're driving, as you hit those ridges from the cross cut, the machine's not going to hop, but you'll notice a little ding in your conditioner, a little bounce in it. No big deal. Just note that that's going to happen for the first cut afterwards. So after doing these cross cuts, you're going to notice that your ice is going to be much easier to cut, because not only is this getting those grooves out, you're essentially leveling your ice out. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get on the ice and I'll show you the how. All right, I got a bird's eye view up here. Now it's time to talk about the how. I got some video of me doing the cross cut, but before I do that, I want to discuss this side of the ice over here, because I kind of addressed one side of the ice. I didn't really address the other side of the ice. Basically, it's the same thing. You want to do your pattern. You want to start your pattern in such a way we're going to be working your way into the corners and from the center ice back to the middle. Now, it doesn't matter if you start this way or if you start coming towards us. It doesn't matter which way you start. You just want to make sure you turn towards the center of the rink. So if you're coming this way, you're going to turn towards the center of the rink, come back this way, come along the boards and go on this side of what you already did and go like this. And just start slowly working your way into the corner and from the center of the ice, the true center, back to the middle of the half of the ice right here. And again, if you're coming towards me, you're driving this way, you're just going to turn back this way and do your pattern again in such a way where you're working your way into the corner. All right, I got some footage of me doing a cross cut, so without further ado, let me go ahead and show that to you. While we're looking at it, I'll go ahead and give you a little play-by-play of what's going on. All right, I sped this up a little bit so it won't be too long. As you can see, I started my cross cut pattern up the center of the section of ice I'm currently doing, about 3 conditioner widths in from the blue line. And I'm going to be working my way from there to the corner and from the center ice back to where I started. And one thing to note, you don't want to turn too early. You want to drive as deep as you can into the boards before you turn to maximize your cross cut. And speaking of turns, this is where you raise your blade up and down. As you come into your turn, as you start your turn, you want to raise your blade up 2 turns over the overlap area, then back down 2 turns before you go up across the center of the ice. That's up 2 turns, down 2 turns. Up 2 turns, down 2 turns. It's a real quick move it. Alright, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. And as always, hope you learned something. And like the local ice man says, stay cool.